and welcome to Assembly Audible. I'm Jennifer Pierce, your host, and today we're recording from the 11th annual Assembly Show in Rosemont, Illinois. Joining me from the Community Hub on the show floor is Emma McGlade, Sales Account Executive with QAD Redzone. Emma, welcome to Assembly Audible.
Thank you so much for having me, Jennifer. It's awesome to be here.
It's so wonderful. I'm so excited. It's the first podcast recording of the morning, so I love we're kicking things off this way. I wanted to, before we dive into some questions, read a few sentences from your bio, if that's okay.
Yeah, of course.
Okay, so previously coming from the chemical manufacturing world, Emma McGlade leads QAD Redzone's Southeast New Business team. She is passionate about empowering frontline workers and helping them grow within their roles. She visits manufacturers across the country on a weekly basis to help them tackle industry challenges. All right, well, I'm so excited to learn more about you and QAD Redzone. From what I understand, this is your first time. Is this your first time at the Assembly Show?
Yeah, so this is our first time exhibiting at the Assembly Show, so we're really excited to have our booth. We're booth number 1737, and it is the football-themed booth, so you can't miss it. So just to give you a little bit of background about QAD Redzone.
Absolutely, I would love to know about QAD Redzone.
So no, we are not here recruiting for the NFL. Redzone, just like in football on the field, the last 20 yards, that's where games are won or lost. And so we feel that shifts are won or lost right on the shop floor, and that's what your Redzone is.
Oh, that is so interesting. I love that. Okay, that makes sense to me. That's awesome. Okay, so let's see. Would you like to talk first about what you do on a day-to-day basis, or would you like to talk a little bit more about manufacturing in general before we dive into some specifics?
Yeah, so I can talk a little bit more about what Redzone is as well.
I would love that.
So we're a connected workforce solution. So what that means is we want to empower the frontline workers to work with purpose and win the day and ultimately grow your bottom line. And truly at its core, Redzone wants to be the marriage of technology and frontline worker engagement. So by empowering your shop floor workers with real-time data, paperless quality, and easy-to-use mobile devices, it's going to create a complete culture change and productivity improvements.
That's amazing. Okay, so what are some of the biggest challenges facing manufacturers today?
Yeah, so whether you're making wire and cable or you're a candy manufacturer, we're hearing a lot of the same issues throughout the industry. And so I have the pleasure of walking 2 or 3 different manufacturing facilities each week, and we see common goals in all of them, right? How do we improve fulfillment? How do we meet existing service standards without turning away future opportunities for growth? How do we maintain and expand our margins while also dealing with soaring costs in the economy? And then how do we ensure the highest quality product and the safest working environment for our people? But with those same goals, we see a lot of common challenges. And the number one the challenge that I've been hearing is the labor shortage. Losing people to the gig economy, the new Amazon that just opened up down the road, folks going over there for $1 more an hour. So how do we maintain and attract those workers? We're also seeing a massive generational shift. So I saw a statistic recently that said the last baby boomer is going to walk off the shop floor by 2030. And then I think it was a survey that was in the Society for Manufacturing Engineers that said that only 27% of parents in the U.S. find manufacturing to be an acceptable career for their children, which is really shocking. So there's a massive generational shift happening. So how do we attract those Gen Zs and those millennials into the industry while also holding on to that tribal knowledge as those older generations start to retire?
That's amazing. Wow, I'm so impressed. So I looked at your LinkedIn profile. I love this. This is one of my things. I love to do this. And I did take a few notes. I understand, and I was so interested that you work with iPads.
We do.
And so I know it says that you travel, right? And you go to manufacturing facilities. Is that right? And I read on your profile that you have 300,000 employees armed with real-time data on iPads and continuous improvement education to solve daily problems. I wondered if you could just paint a picture for our audience. What does that look like? What do you do with the iPads every day?
Yeah, absolutely. That's a great question. So compared to your traditional ERP, MES, SCADA systems, we're a little bit different, where we want the focus to be on empowering the shop floor operators and giving them a voice and giving them a tool with things like these mounted line-side iPads and visual scoreboards, so everyone from the shop floor to the top floor is rowing in the same direction, and everybody has the same goals and the same kind of visibility to the real-time data. So your ERP, your MES, your SCADA, that's going to be your system of record, where Redzone's going to be your system of action. So how can we take action on things that are happening during the shift so it doesn't become tombstone data that's too late to do anything about it? So the iPads, here's an example, if you can see it. I feel like Vanna White.
Yeah, yes.
But really easy to use. So green bars and gold stars, so it's meant to allow you to manage by exception. And so just having that greater visibility, and it's going to get, just turn on the lights. How are we actually doing? Where do we want to go? What's sustainable for us in terms of our goals and our targets? But the other unique thing about Redzone that sets us apart is our coaching program. So we don't just deploy the software and leave you to your own devices. We actually have a dedicated coach that comes on site over a period of 90 days, and they coach in the right routines and the right behaviors alongside the software so that you have sustainable new habits and new targets, and how can we have continuous improvement moving forward.
So within the factory, who would be equipped with the iPads? Would that be like the assemblers, or where would you find those throughout the facility?
Yeah, your hourly workers, your shop floor operators, your supervisors are equipped with them, and then we have mounted televisions, and we have an activity called an Opportunity Blitz, because like Redzone, lots of football themes, but the Opportunity Blitz is where we would actually come on site for a day and a quarter. Myself, a solutions consultant, we would fully scope out the plant, build out a full business case and ROI, and say, here's where we want to go, where can Redzone take us? And we actually come back on site for that second day and say, here's a live day in the life demo of what your people, processes, and products would look like using Redzone. So we really fully build out the scope of things, and one of those things that we do during the Opportunity Blitz is we say, here's where all of those visual scoreboards are going to go, so you can see what line's in the lead for the day, and it unlocks some friendly competition on the floor.
Yeah.
So just lots of great features. Our coaches are going to teach things like how to use the chats, how to use the translation feature. Redzone can translate into any language, so it unlocks communication on so many different levels.
Wow. So how do you see manufacturers responding to some of the challenges they're facing? What are companies doing about it?
We've seen a lot of different approaches to this, and I think a lot of people are starting to automate. So lots of new technology being brought in to help kind of shorten that labor gap that we're seeing. We're also seeing a lot of consultancies being brought in, but really what Redzone aims to do is, what can we do more of with the existing people that we have?
Right.
And how do we engage those folks and really drive productivity from the shop floor up just by empowering them with a tool that gives them a voice?
Well, I think it's so smart. Just on first glance, when I looked at your LinkedIn profile, I read iPad, and to me as a consumer and someone who's slightly outside of the roles, I guess, that you would be utilizing these for and within, it's approachable. It's like, if there's an iPad or a phone involved, a lot of people are familiar with devices these days, right?
Yeah.
It makes it feel like I could do that, maybe,
Yeah.
Whereas if I didn't know exactly what was going on or the tools that I would be using, that it might be really confusing or intimidating for me to think about doing that job.
Exactly, and we hear that all the time, because you've got the folks that have been in the plant for 20, 30 years, and they've got lots of great information, but having new technology can sometimes be intimidating. And then you've got those younger folks who, the Gen Zs and millennials grew up with iPads in their hands. So it's really approachable, and so whether you've been at the plant for a really long time or you're just coming in, it's a very easy way to have communication unlocked, and it's very easy to learn, and that's what our coaches are going to do. They're going to hold your hand through the entire process and make sure that everybody knows exactly how to best use the technology. And it's really different from your traditional ERP, MES, SCADA system, where it's a lot of infrastructure, design and build, totally different process. Again, that's your system of record. Redzone's your system of action. So we have a 6 to 8 week implementation, so it's very quick. It's an out-of-the-box, cloud-based solution. So we want to get it stood up as quickly as possible. It's meant to be really fast, really straightforward, really easy. We want to get those results in 90 days, and I can definitely talk about some of our results as well.
That's a great segue, because I read about pairing workforce solutions with targeted coaching, just touched upon that, you were able to achieve overall equipment effectiveness uplift. And I'll let you take over from here because these are your stats, not mine. But yeah, I definitely wanted to talk about the increase in productivity.
Yeah, so on average, we're in over 1,200 plants now. So we've grown rapidly. We started back in 2013, I think, with just 12 plants. So we've expanded really quickly into new industries, which is why we're so excited to be at a show like the Assembly Show, meeting new organizations. But on average, across our 1,200 plants, we saw a 29% productivity increase, a 74% increase in employee engagement, and a 32% reduction in staff turnover. So all of that just in the first 90 days of using Redzone was the average across our community of 1,200 plants. So it's been really exciting to see such quick results. And so it's meant to be, like I said, an out-of-the-box solution that's going to be an operations-owned software. So IT folks love it because it's not a huge lift on their part.
Awesome. I wanted to ask you about something I read, and that is that QAD Redzone is preventing technology acquisition risks. What does that mean?
Yeah, so preventing technology acquisition risks, that's really just how do we engage our people? How do we unlock the power of our people and empower them to really win the day and work with purpose and have dignity and have it be more than a job, and so not being replaced by technology and utilizing those folks on the floor. They're the experts in the shop. They're the ones that they're going to be able to raise their hand and have a voice and say, we can do this better. And ultimately, that's going to drive a lot of those intangible productivity results.
Yeah. It's important, I think, to incorporate technology into manufacturing settings, and it's so cool that you guys are providing that opportunity for people.
Yeah, it's been a really great experience for me, and I think one of the reasons I joined Redzone was because it put the people first, and I think that's really hard to do these days in a really technology-focused environment, especially in manufacturing.
Okay, so if anyone listening to this podcast wants to get in touch with you or learn more about QAD Redzone, where do they go?
Yeah, so you can go to rzsoftware.com, and we also have our YouTube page that has over 200 customer testimonials. We also have an opportunity for you to come on site to one of our community members. We have these awesome lean manufacturing and executive networking events. Our next one is coming up November 2nd in Birmingham, Alabama. It's being hosted by a premier spice manufacturer called AC Leg, and they're going to open their doors, and it's a chance for other manufacturing executives to come collaborate, talk about what they're doing to combat industry issues. There's going to be a plant tour, a panel discussion, lunch is provided, but it's really just a great way for you to hear from other Redzone users what their experience was. So if you can make it to one of those events, I highly encourage it. But otherwise, if you're at the Assembly Show, come by and see us. We'll throw a football with you, booth 1737.
Fantastic. It's so wonderful to see you getting out into the community, and I really appreciate your time today, Emma.
Thank you so much, Jennifer.
Thank you for tuning in to this episode of Assembly Audible. We invite you to join us for one or both of our shows next year, the Assembly Show South in Nashville and the Assembly Show back in Rosemont in October. For more insights on assembling discrete parts and to finished products and the people behind it all, visit our website, assemblymag.com, and be sure to subscribe to the podcast and keep up with all of our latest updates on our social media platforms. I'm Jennifer Pierce, multimedia editor, signing off. Thanks for listening.